I was 9 months pregnant, blood running down my legs as I stood at their mansion door in the pouring rain. My mother-in-law smiled at me with such coldness that I can still feel it burning in my chest. "The mistress is moving in tonight," she said, her voice calm, almost pleasant. "You need to leave." Behind her, my husband stood there holding another woman's hand. That woman was pregnant too. They all thought I was helpless, that I had nowhere to go, no one to turn to. They had no idea what I'd already set in motion. They had no idea that in exactly 6 months, their entire world would be ashes. My name is Naomi, and this is the story of how I went from being thrown out like garbage to destroying a billion-dollar empire. Before I tell you how I made them pay for every single second of humiliation, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on those notifications, because this story has more twists than a thriller movie. I promise you won't see what's coming. The revenge I took was so calculated, so brutal, that sometimes even I can't believe I actually pulled it off. So stay with me until the very end, because what happened in that courtroom, let's just say it made national news. Now let me take you back to where this nightmare began. I met Adrian Blackwood at a corporate finance conference 3 years ago. I was 26, working as a financial analyst at a small but respectable firm in the city. He was 32, gorgeous, confident, and he pursued me like I was the only woman in the world. For 6 months, he sent flowers to my office, took me to restaurants I couldn't pronounce the names of, and told me I was different from everyone he'd ever met. I actually believed him. God, I was so naive. When he proposed, it was like something out of a movie. Rose petals, string quartet, the works. His family owned Blackwood Global Empire, a $3 billion corporation dealing in tech and real estate. I knew they were wealthy, but I didn't understand what that meant until I saw the mansion. 45 rooms. 45. I got lost trying to find the kitchen on my second day there. The wedding was beautiful. 300 guests, all of high society. I wore a dress that cost more than my car. For one perfect day, I felt like Cinderella. But Cinderella's story ends at midnight. Mine was just beginning. Adrian's mother, Cassandra Blackwood, ran that household like a military general. She was elegant, always perfectly dressed, and absolutely terrifying. From day one, she made it clear I didn't belong. I'd find her going through my phone when I left it on the counter. She'd comment on what I ate at dinner, suggesting I watch my figure. The household staff, all 12 of them, treated me like I was invisible. I later found out Cassandra had instructed them to ignore me unless absolutely necessary. Adrian's sister Vanessa was even worse. She'd throw parties and forget to tell me about them. I'd come downstairs to find 50 people in our home, and she'd announce loudly, "Oh, Naomi, I didn't think you'd be interested. This is more for people who understand our world." His father, Vincent, barely acknowledged my existence. He'd look right through me at dinner like I was a ghost. But I tried. God, I tried so hard to fit in, to make them love me, to be good enough. I took etiquette classes. I volunteered at their charity events. I smiled through every insult, every cold shoulder, every reminder that I'd never be one of them. Then I got pregnant. I thought maybe, just maybe, a baby would change things. I announced it at family dinner, my hands shaking as I held Adrian's hand. The room went completely silent. Cassandra dropped her wine glass. It shattered on the marble floor, red wine spreading like blood. Vanessa actually laughed, this cruel, bitter sound. "Oh," she said, "how convenient." Adrian's face showed panic, not joy, not excitement, panic. That's when I knew something was very, very wrong. That night I couldn't sleep. I heard Adrian on the phone in his study, his voice angry, stressed. I crept closer to the door. A woman's voice came through the speaker, and I'll never forget what she said. "You promised me we'd be together by now. You promised me, Adrian." My heart stopped. I stood there in the dark hallway of that massive, cold mansion, 6 weeks pregnant, and felt my perfect life crumbling around me. I started paying attention after that. Really paying attention. Adrian was coming home later and later. He'd take calls and leave the room. He stopped touching me. When I was 4 months pregnant, he moved into a guest bedroom. said he didn't want to disturb my sleep. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. But at 6 months pregnant, I followed him. I'm not proud of it, but I did. He told me he had a late meeting. I waited 30 minutes, then took an Uber to follow his car. He drove to a luxury penthouse building downtown. I sat in that Uber for 3 hours in the rain, my hands on my swollen belly, watching the building entrance. When they came out together, I felt something inside me die. She was beautiful, tall, blonde, sophisticated, everything I wasn't. They kissed right there on the street, his hand on her face the way he used to touch me. I took photos with shaking hands, tears streaming down my face. Her name was Lauren Sterling. I did my research. Vice President of Marketing at Blackwood Global. She'd been working there for 4 years. 4 years! Which meant I did the math. They'd been together even before he met me. Our entire relationship was a lie. When I confronted Adrian, I expected him to deny it, to apologize, to something. Instead, he just looked tired. Lauren understands my world, Naomi. She always has. You're sweet, but you never really fit in here, did you? I felt like I'd been slapped. Then why did you marry me? He actually laughed. You really don't know? Your company held the patents we needed for our tech division expansion. Marriage was the easiest way to acquire them. Once we got what we needed, well, he shrugged. You were supposed to leave quietly. The baby complicates things, but we'll handle it. I stood there, 7 months pregnant with his child, and realized I'd been nothing but a business transaction, a merger, an acquisition, but the worst was still coming. At 8 months pregnant, Cassandra called a family meeting. I had to waddle downstairs, my back aching, my feet swollen. They were all there, sitting in the formal living room like a board meeting. Cassandra sat in the center like a queen on her throne. She slid papers across the coffee table toward me. Divorce papers, she said calmly. You'll get $100,000. Sign them now, and we'll make this easy. Vanessa was smirking from the corner. Did you really think you belonged here? With us? You're a financial analyst from a middle-class family. You were always temporary. Vincent finally spoke, his first real words to me in months. Take the money or leave with nothing. Your choice. I was about to respond when the door opened. A woman walked in, and my blood turned to ice. Lauren. She was pregnant too, her hand resting on a visible baby bump. 5 months along, maybe. Cassandra smiled. This will be the real Blackwood heir, not whatever you're carrying. Lauren walked over to Adrian and kissed him right in front of me. Hi, darling, she said, then looked at me with mock sympathy. This must be so hard for you, but really it's better this way. I refused to sign. I don't know where I found the strength, but I looked at all of them and said no. That's when they made my life a living hell. They changed the locks on the master bedroom. I was moved to the servants' quarters, a tiny room near the kitchen that smelled like cleaning supplies. They reduced my food portions. Cassandra said it was to watch my weight for the baby's health, but I was hungry all the time. They canceled my doctor appointments. When I tried to reschedule them, I found out my health insurance had been canceled, and Lauren moved into the mansion, into my home. She wore my jewelry, the pieces Cassandra had given me as wedding gifts. She redecorated the nursery I'd spent months planning, painting over the soft yellow walls I'd chosen with stark white. She made me watch Adrian and Lauren would walk past my little room holding hands. They'd kiss in the hallways. One morning, I found them having breakfast in bed in what used to be my bedroom, and Lauren just waved at me like we were friends. I'd cry myself to sleep every night, my hands on my belly, apologizing to my baby. I'm so sorry, I'd whisper. I'm so sorry you're going to be born into this. Then came the worst night of my life. I woke up at 2 a.m. to wetness and pain. My water had broken. The contractions hit fast and hard every 5 minutes. I screamed for help, stumbling into the hallway. The mansion was dark and quiet. Cassandra appeared in her silk robe, looking annoyed. What is all this noise? The baby's coming, I gasped, doubled over. Please, I need to go to the hospital. She looked at me with such cold indifference. You're being dramatic, Naomi. First babies take hours. Sleep it off. Please, I begged, tears streaming down my face. "Please, something's wrong. The pain is too much." She turned and walked away, just left me there in the hallway, contracting, terrified. I crawled toward Adrian's new bedroom, the pain so intense I couldn't stand. I pushed open the door and found him in bed with Lauren. They both looked at me like I was interrupting something important. "Adrian, please," I sobbed. "The baby's coming. I need help." He glanced at Lauren, who was sitting up in bed with this annoyed expression. "I can't leave," he said. "Lauren's not feeling well tonight." I stared at him in disbelief. "I'm in labor. Your child is being born." Lauren actually laughed. "Maybe this is nature's way of fixing our problem." I'll never forget that moment, the cruelty of it, the absolute inhumanity. I was on my hands and knees, in the worst pain of my life, begging for help, and they looked at me like I was nothing. Cassandra called security at 3 a.m. "Remove her from the property," she ordered. 2 security guards, looking uncomfortable, helped me up. I was screaming, crying, begging them to call an ambulance. Vanessa appeared at the top of the stairs, filming everything on her phone, laughing. "This is going on my private Instagram," she said. They dragged me to the driveway. It was raining, cold October rain that soaked through my nightgown in seconds. They threw a suitcase at my feet. Cassandra stood in the mansion doorway, dry and comfortable. "You were nothing but a business transaction, dear. A merger that's now dissolved. The baby will never have the Blackwood name." Vincent appeared behind her. "You should have taken the money when we offered it." The gates closed. I collapsed on the driveway, screaming in pain and fear, completely alone. But I wasn't alone. An elderly man rushed from the house next door, his bathrobe flying behind him. "Young lady! My God, what have they done?" His name was Mr. Harrison. He was a retired judge, and he drove me to the hospital himself, holding my hand the whole way. "What they did is criminal," he kept saying. "Criminal." I gave birth to my daughter Sophie at 4:47 a.m. She was perfect, tiny, healthy, beautiful, and I had nothing to give her. No home, no money, no family. I cried holding her. "I have nothing, baby. I'm so sorry." Mr. Harrison, this stranger who'd shown me more kindness than my own husband, sat beside my hospital bed. "Young lady," he said quietly, "you have fire, and I'm going to help you burn their world down." Turns out Mr. Harrison wasn't just any retired judge. He was a legendary attorney who'd spent his career destroying corrupt corporations, and he had a personal score to settle with the Blackwoods. Years ago, they'd ruined his nephew's company through illegal business practices. "What do you need from me?" I asked him, exhausted, hopeful. "Everything you know, every document, every secret." And that's when I remembered. Months ago, when I first started suspecting Adrian was cheating, I'd copied files from his home computer just in case. I had them backed up on a secure cloud drive. When we looked through them, we found everything. Blackwood Global had been embezzling from investors $340 million, hidden in shell companies. They'd been bribing government officials to win contracts, insider trading, money laundering. And Lauren Sterling wasn't just the mistress, she was the mastermind behind all of it. Adrian was complicit, but Lauren was orchestrating everything. And Cassandra knew. She'd been helping cover it up for years. But that wasn't even the best part. As I dug deeper, I found something that made my blood run cold and my heart sing at the same time. Lauren was also having an affair with Vincent, Adrian's father. I had emails, hotel receipts, everything. And Vanessa knew about it. She was helping them because Lauren had promised her the CEO position once they pushed Adrian out of the company. They were all betraying each other, and I was going to make sure they all went down together. Mr. Harrison and I built our case carefully. We filed for custody, for divorce, for emotional distress and child endangerment. But that was just the legal front. I anonymously sent all the financial evidence to the FBI, and SECI sent the recordings from that horrible night to every major media outlet. I created an anonymous social media account and started posting evidence piece by piece. The recordings went viral. The video of me being dragged out of the mansion while in labor hit 45 million views in 24 hours. Billionaire Monster started trending worldwide. People were outraged. Blackwood Global's stock crashed 34% in one day. Investors pulled out the board called emergency meetings, and then came the court date. The courtroom was packed with media. The Blackwood family arrived looking arrogant, untouchable in their expensive suits. Adrian and Lauren sat together, actually smirking. Cassandra wore all white like she was the victim. I arrived in a simple white dress, carrying Sophie. I looked them all in the eye and smiled. Mr. Harrison played the full audio recording from that night. You could hear me screaming in pain. You could hear me begging for help. You could hear Cassandra's cold refusal. You could hear Lauren's cruel laughter. Jury members were crying. Cassandra started yelling, "This is taken out of context!" The judge held her in contempt right there. But we weren't done. Mr. Harrison played a second recording. Lauren and Vincent in a hotel room, discussing their affair, discussing how they were going to push Adrian out of the company, how Vincent was going to divorce Cassandra and marry Lauren, how they'd been planning this for over a year. Adrian's face went white. He literally lunged at his own father across the courtroom. Security had to restrain him. Cassandra fainted. Vanessa started screaming at Lauren, all their careful society manners disappearing. The courtroom descended into complete chaos, and then came the final blow, the one I'd been saving. Mr. Harrison stood up calmly and said, "Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence. A DNA test showing that Lauren Sterling's baby is not Adrian Blackwood's child." The room went silent. "The baby is Vincent Blackwood's." Lauren had been playing Adrian to get close to Vincent, who had the real power in the company. Her whole plan had been to marry Adrian, have Vincent's baby, and eventually push everyone else out. Vanessa was helping because Lauren had promised her everything. Adrian collapsed back into his chair. The great Blackwood family, the untouchable billionaire dynasty, was destroying itself right there in open court. The judge ruled in my favor on everything: full custody of Sophie, $15 million in settlement, a public apology from the entire family, restraining orders against all of them. But the federal charges were even better. The FBI arrested Lauren Sterling as she left the courthouse. Vincent was indicted on conspiracy and bribery charges. Cassandra was charged as an accessory. Adrian lost everything when his own family cut him off for being, in Vincent's words, too weak to control his own wife. Blackwood Global filed for bankruptcy within 6 months. $2.8 billion in debt was revealed. Investors sued for fraud. The empire crumbled, and I watched every second of it on the news while holding my baby girl. You want to know where they are now? Vincent is in prison serving 12 years. Cassandra is under house arrest and had a mental breakdown. She's in psychiatric care. Adrian works as a mid-level manager at a company in another state. He's divorced, alone, and pays child support every month. He gets to see Sophie once a month under supervised visits. Vanessa was completely blacklisted from high society. Last I heard, she's working retail, and Lauren? She's in prison for 15 years. Her baby is being raised by her elderly mother. And me? I started Phoenix Legal Aid, a nonprofit that helps women fight back against powerful families who try to destroy them. I live in a beautiful home that I bought with my own money. Sophie is 4 years old now. She's happy, smart, and knows nothing about the darkness she was born into. Mr. Harrison is her godfather. We have dinner every Sunday, and I found love again. His name is Lucas. He's a teacher at Sophie's preschool, and he's kind and gentle and everything. Adrian never was. I'm pregnant again, due in 3 months. This time, I'm surrounded by love. I wrote a book about my experience. It became a bestseller. I speak at conferences about resilience, about fighting back, about refusing to be a victim. They thought throwing me out while I was in labor would break me. They thought I was helpless. They thought I had no power, no options, no way to fight back. They were wrong about everything. Here's what I learned through all of this. Revenge isn't about anger. It's about strategy. It's about patience. It's about collecting evidence while they think you're defeated. It's about letting evil people destroy themselves while you build your case piece by piece. My mother-in-law is now in a psychiatric facility, alone with her thoughts. My ex-husband works a normal job and goes home to an empty apartment every night. His mistress is in a prison cell. And me? I'm free. I'm happy. I'm strong. If this story moved you, if it made you angry, if it made you feel anything at all, I need you to do something for me right now. Smash that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you never miss a story, because I share stories like this every single week. Stories of people who refused to stay victims. Stories of people who fought back and won. Drop a comment right now and tell me, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have signed those papers? Would you have fought back? I want to hear from you. And please, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's going through their own battle. Someone who needs to know that their darkest moment can become their greatest comeback. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. They can take your comfort. They can take your money. They can even take your dignity for a moment, but they can only take your power if you give it to them. And I refused. I refused to give up. I refused to disappear quietly. Look at me now. Remember, you are not helpless. You are not powerless. You are not defeated unless you choose to be. Gather your evidence, build your case, and when the time is right, burn their world down. I'm Naomi, and I'll see you in the next story. Stay strong, fighters. Your comeback is coming.